Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life, won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
Time always seems like such an elusive concept for a lot of people. And of course, how you manage your time impacts on your relationships, whether negatively or positively. Welcome to Making It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, with other people. I'm Noreen Daly, and to talk about just how we can maximize our time is Jones Loflin. He's an author, speaker, and coach, and he helps others to make better choices with their time so they can thrive. So, are you thriving? Chances are you're not. This is the conversation for you this time around. Welcome, Jones.
Oh, thank you, Noreen. And when you asked that question, I was about to raise my hand and say, well, I'm a little tired this morning, but I feel good because I'm on this podcast with you. So, so yes, I'll go ahead and answer your question. Yes, I'm thriving now.
Okay.
So thanks for having me today.
All right. How did you get to being a thriver, though, before we get into our topic?
Sure, absolutely. Back in the 80s, way back when I had hair, lots of it, I was introduced to the idea of better managing my time. It was actually a college course in graduate school, and I will never forget just the impact it had on me about understanding the need to manage how I use my time more effectively. And so it was the greatest gift that I've been given throughout my career, my personal life, is just that passion to make sure I am using my time in alignment with what's important to me, so that I can thrive in the things that I do.
Interesting. All right. So how can I maximize time?
How can I maximize time? That's a fantastic question. I think it starts with asking how you want that time to be utilized. What are the outcomes you're looking for? What was it Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People? Begin with the end in mind. I think to maximize time, we have to ask ourselves, what is it I want to have? Too often people feel like they're victims of their day. They just react to whatever's in front of them. It's the tyranny of the urgent. They really don't.
The tyranny of the urgent.
Yeah, there's a book by that title, actually. So it's a great one.
Really?
Yeah, it is. There is. And so I think too often we don't take as much control of how we want to use our time as we should. We just kind of feel like a victim. We react to what's happening. And so I think it starts with taking more control, asking yourself the outcomes you want, and then beginning to ask yourself, how would that look like in my day? Beginning to plan out days that are aligned, or the activities are aligned so that your most important things get done. I have a 5-step process that I use in my time management training, where it starts with, thinking about your purpose and your goals and your outcomes. And the second one's, what are the activities that will help you accomplish those? The third one is identify your non-discretionary time. That's the time in your day for meetings or teaching or whatever it is that you've got to do. The fourth step is identify your discretionary time. And that's a part where I think a lot of people fail to maximize their time. They won't look at their day and go, oh, you know what? If I've got these things going on, wait a minute, I've got an hour block right here. And then step 5 is take those activities that I mentioned in step 2 about the activities that should be in your day, and begin to see how you can put them into your day. I'm a huge proponent of not using a task list. I think a lot of people think they can maximize their time by creating this task list and then looking at it to figure out what they want to do each day.
Really?
I don't think that works as well, because here's the thing. Our brains are lazy. They don't like to work hard. They like to conserve energy just in case there's a crisis. Well, if you look at your task list and you've got some easy items and some hard items on there, your brain's going to go, oh, go do that simple one. Because then you can check it off or mark it out and go, woohoo, I got it done. But it may not be the most important thing to do. The other thing about task list is that if you've got 2 items listed and one item is going to take 5 minutes and the other item says work on improvement plan or professional
Right,
improvement plan,
right,
for
right.
educators, work on
Mhm.
professional improvement plan. Your brain's going to go, oh, that one's hard. It's going to take a long time. Then you're not going to do it. So I just think it's really important to take those task list items and try. You can't always do it, but try to put them into your calendar somewhere. Now, if you're going to keep a task list, and please understand when I say throw out your task list, I'm getting a rise out of people, but I think if you're going to keep it, 2 things. One is you need to break items down into meaningful parts. Like instead of work on professional improvement plan, maybe it's identify 2 objectives for professional improvement plan. Because then you look at it and go, oh, I could do that in 15 minutes, or I could do that in a half an hour. It's just to make that task list more manageable, if you will. So sorry, I got on a little bit of a rant there, but
that's fine. Because I think though, for people, you have to find what works for you.
yeah, exactly.
I've always been using a planner, and every time I'm looking to see if I can find a better version. And the planner that I'm using for this year, one of the things that I love about it is that it has on it for each day what is your top 3, especially for the work week. That works.
Yes,
that works. Because I find that if I don't always get through the top 3, but I usually get through it. So I, even if it transfers, it's probably like the next day, and it might have been something where people had other pieces for it that I, that I couldn't fully control all of it. So I find that just saying that those top 3 helps.
Oh, I love that.
I have stopped having this. I'm with you. I've stopped having this nice long list, because it really doesn't work, and it can be frustrating because things keep moving on to the other day. You're like, huh? Where did my time go? But I have a question for you.
Sure.
The whole idea of choosing what happens with your time then helps how you maximize time. Yes?
Okay. Correct.
Okay, I'm going to use myself as an example. So in my other life, I'm an educator. I'm the chair of an academic department. And quite often than not, I will go into my email, and it doesn't happen every day. But I remember one day I went into my email and there was a meeting that I realized that I went to the meeting, and I was so annoyed because I really didn't want to be in the meeting. But because of the position, and because I figured that there should be some representation, and I couldn't just call a team member and say, okay, go represent. No, I really don't think. So when it is that you want to choose how you spend your time, but by virtue of your position, meetings, which I feel sometimes is a total waste of time, but that's for another topic. What do you do then?
Sure. Yeah, that's that you're right. That's a whole nother topic within itself. But I think, and I like what you did there. You actually walked through a process that I think is very helpful. Is that okay? I've got this meeting. I don't really see a lot of value in me being there. You thought about it. Is there someone else I could send? Is there someone else who could take my place? Could I participate in those meetings less often? Can I request an agenda before the meeting, or request to know what we're going to talk about at the meeting? Could I be at part of the meeting and not all of the meeting? Another thing that sometimes I encourage people to do is, if there's meetings that you're consistently a part of that you're not bringing value to or not seeing value in, is talk to that person that you report to and say, my plate is full. Okay. My plate is full, and I know, and here's where you got to know what your supervisor's priorities are. I know you really want me to work on high priority project. Right. Could I potentially not be at those meetings so that I could focus more on getting that done? And offer that. Now they may say, no, we really need you at that meeting. Okay, at least you tried. But they may say, you know what? Okay. And then you offer a contingency plan of saying, I'll contact you the day after the meeting to see what was discussed and, what the action items are for me. I just think you got to look at all different angles there to say, how can I minimize the time I'm spending in meetings? And we've got to be willing to advocate for ourselves. And that starts with, explaining how your not being in that meeting is going to be of value to the supervisor, to your colleagues, or to the organization. I think that's a key place to start.
We have to take a break and get a word from our partners. We'll be right back.
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
Photography is an art, but more so, photography must come from the heart. Precious moments, priceless times. Take a pic and know it will turn out fine.
BMC Photography JA, beautiful moments captured. Let's go.
For all your events such as educational forums, workshops, book launches, weddings, and more, contact Noreen Daly, the ultimate MC and event host. Visit noreendaly.com or follow her on Instagram at Noreen Daly Jam. Noreen Daly, creating long-lasting memories.
Langdo Language Institute was created to meet your language and communication needs. All of our packages were created just for you. We are passionate about language and dedicated to your success. We offer the CSEC English program, the Study Buddy program, the Get Ahead with English program, and the Business Communication program. Contact us at 767-285-0938 or email us at landolanguage@gmail.com. Because the real question is, how can we help you?
Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives, sisters and brothers, friends for life won't live in the past. All I wanna do now is making it last.
When I just became chair, there's a meeting that I have to attend. And the meeting is 4 or 5 hours long. It used to be face to face, and I'm gonna say this, and I'm not afraid to say, the only thing I'd look forward to was that I'd get a free lunch, so that day I didn't have to worry about lunch. No, over time, no. And what I used to do, I wouldn't walk with my laptop to the meeting, and I just sit and be so attentive. And I realized other people would have their laptops and they'd be multitasking. So after a while, I started doing the same thing. And now that the meeting is virtual, I'm in the meeting and I'm in my email. I'm being productive while the meeting is happening. So that is the way, because the meeting usually lasts from 10 to 1.
Okay.
And sitting for that period can be a bit much.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
But, you know, I have found a way to work myself through the meeting. One of the things that I have done as a leader, and I read this, I think might have been some months ago, when it was talking about how people with virtual meetings, people can basically be meetinged out or zoomed out, whichever terminology people want to use. And I said to myself, if I have shorter meetings, because I have to have departmental meetings, if I have shorter meetings, because of course they get the agenda in advance and people know what it will make a difference. So one of the things that I've tried to do, and I want to try again coming next school year, is to have meetings for 45 minutes, not an hour.
Beautiful.
Yeah. It don't always work,
Right.
but I am trying. And I find that when I do that, the meetings are more productive.
Oh,
because people know
yeah.
that I'm here for 4 and then I'm gone. I can go
Yeah.
on to do something else.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
And you can have higher expectations of the participants. That's what I love about it, Noreen. You say, okay, laptops down, or, if it's virtual, they've got to have it. Okay, I want everybody's full attention. Can we all agree? Nobody's going to check their email. Nobody's going to check their Slack or Teams messages while we're in the 45 minutes. Everybody agree? Yes. Okay, go. I think and people love that, to know that you're looking out for their time. I really applaud you for that, Noreen. Plus, when you set it for 45 minutes, you give people that space to say, okay, I'm going to have time to go to the bathroom. I'm going to have time to take a breath before my next meeting. If not, they say, okay, I need to go ahead and get ready for this next meeting, and they've checked out of your meeting early,
Yes,
mentally,
yes,
if not
yes.
physically.
True. What then would you say to somebody who's listening to say, in terms of maximizing my time, I need to use some of these productivity tools? I remember for one meeting one time, I have a team member who's very tech savvy, and I had her just introducing people, just some of the different things that they probably have access to and just not using, some of the Google tools. But for you, what are some of the productivity tools that you use, or that you say time management tools you could recommend to people who watch or listen to this?
Sure. I use a project management tool called Asana, ASANA, because I have a small team of folks that work with me, and I've really enjoyed that. I know a lot of your folks are on Teams and probably other types of platforms, but if you're a small team and want something that's really simple to use, Asana is a great tool to be able to track who's working on what and comment directly into the app. So that's one piece of technology that I use. One that I really have enjoyed, and you say, well, is it really productivity? I use an app called Readwise, READWISE. How many of us read books on our electronic devices? We highlight stuff in there, and we say, oh, there's so much good content there, and I want to remember that content. And then a month later, we go, I can't even remember what I read in Noreen's book, or whatever. Readwise is an app that syncs from all of any electronic device that you read a book or a PDF from. It syncs it, and it syncs the highlights. And then here's the cool part. Every day it will send you an email with a certain number of highlights from some of the books you've read. So every morning when I'm in my quiet time, I'm getting ready for the day, I can click on that email, and I can say, okay, there's one of my highlights from, Cleaning Up Your Mental Mess, book I'm currently reading. And I go, okay, wow, that's a great quote. I'd forgotten that one. And then it'll throw up a quote from a book I read a year ago. And, oh, wow, yeah, I need to remember that. It is a great tool for people who want to remember what they've read and be able to apply that, because so often I use it in a coaching session, or I use something I read that morning in a facilitation. So it really helps me to have great content that I've forgotten about because I highlighted it in the book, and the book is on my Kindle somewhere. I forgot it. So that's an application. The final one I'll share real quickly. It's not a technology tool so much as I think we all have to get better at blocking our time and choosing those chunks of time. You call it chunking, whatever the language is, but creating a space for specific stuff. You mentioned email. How many people could improve if they would simply agree to check their email 3 times a day? Versus, I think I'll go check my email a minute, and then 35 minutes later going, oh crap, I didn't mean to stay in here that long. So not really a technology tool, but it's about technology. It's just creating space for certain things and then staying in that space, getting it done before moving on to something else.
That one's for me, because recently I said to myself, if I'm not careful, I could stay in my email all day, because there's always something to respond to or something. So that one's specifically for me. It is. As we're wrapping up, you've said a lot, but if it is that all of what you said literally just flew over somebody's head, what is the one idea that you'd want to leave with those who will watch, those who will listen to this, in terms of how to maximize their time?
Okay. I think it's asking yourself some variation of this question. What is it I want to have when this day is over? What do I want to have when this day is over? And people will say things like fulfillment or a sense of accomplishment, and so then that leads you to the second question. What are the steps you're going to take to have that outcome? And so it just gets people thinking about, well, I need to guard my time. I need to schedule more effectively. I need to talk to Noreen about how I'd really like not to have to attend that meeting every week. I'd like to attend every other week or something. But I think it's just really starting with that. What do I want from this day? What do I want to get from it? And then what steps do I need to take to get that? I think that's where it starts. And then it's all the other things that we've talked about today.
Thanks for sharing, Jones. This was a pleasure. And I'm going to say this publicly. I had to convince him to be on this podcast. So for those of you who are listening and watching, I am happy that I did. I love this conversation. It was my pleasure.
Well, mine as well, Noreen. You're a delight.
Thank you. This was Make It Last podcast, where it's all about helping us to have better relationships, not just with ourselves, but with other people. I'm Noreen Daly. Until next time.
I loving you. Mothers and fathers, husbands and wives,